My name is Jennie Harper. I'm 29 now, and everything I have I built from the ground up, with blistered hands and a heart that had to learn how to beat again. But 7 years ago, my world collapsed under the weight of one brutal lie. A lie my family chose to believe. They cast me aside without hesitation, took my sister's word as gospel, and left me to survive in the shadows alone. I've carried that silence, that betrayal. And now, when everything they built is crumbling, they come to me for rescue. But I didn't stay. Let me explain why. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. I grew up in a picture-perfect suburb just outside Seattle, where the lawns were trimmed like magazine covers and every neighbor smiled as if their lives were as immaculate as their flower beds. Our house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, all glass windows and neutral tones designed to impress. It wasn't just a place to live. It was a display, a curated set piece in the performance of the Harper family brand. My father, Michael Harper, was a man whose name echoed through corporate boardrooms downtown. A senior partner at a prestigious law firm, he was sharp, poised, and always dressed in custom suits that somehow made him seem taller than he was. He moved through life with the confidence of someone used to winning arguments and getting his way. My mother, Susan, floated on a different frequency, graceful, curated, and obsessed with appearances. She worked part-time as an interior designer, but her real job was image control. She made sure our home looked good for the annual Christmas newsletter, and our lives looked even better on social media. PDA meetings, charity fundraisers, seasonal decor swaps, she ruled them all with a gleaming smile and a carefully chosen outfit. I was their only biological child, their investment. The straight-A daughter who never missed practice, who captained the varsity soccer team, who volunteered just enough to make college essays sparkle. Teachers called me a natural leader. Coaches praised my discipline. My mom bragged about me at every dinner party. I wasn't perfect. I'd sneak out once in a while, maybe sip a stolen wine cooler at a friend's basement party, but even my rebellion was tame. I knew better than to do anything that might smudge the family's glossy image. I played the part well because it was what was expected. Then came Emily. I was 12 when she arrived, 5 years old, wide-eyed and fragile, with a chipped tooth and tangled curls. My parents had decided to adopt, and from the moment Emily stepped into our home, she was a star. Mom styled her like a porcelain doll, bows, glitter shoes, matching ensembles. Her laugh lit up a room. Her tears could halt time. I'd be lying if I said I didn't resent her, at least in the beginning. I'd been the sun around which everything revolved, and suddenly there was this new planet pulling everyone's orbit. Till I adapted. I swallowed my jealousy and found moments to love her. She was silly, clingy, and impossibly curious. I taught her how to ride a bike. I sat through every ballet recital, even the painfully long ones. And as the years passed, I believed we had something real. I didn't just play the big sister. I was her big sister. In college, I came home on weekends just to see her. I'd pick her up from school, bring her her favorite bubble tea, and let her rant about whatever drama plagued middle school that week. I told her not to let kids push her around. Chin up, I used to say. You're tougher than you think. By the time I hit my senior year at the University of Washington, my life felt like it was finally aligning. I was 22, majoring in marketing with a near-perfect GPA. I had secured a competitive internship at a rising tech startup and was co-captaining the women's soccer team through one of their best seasons. My days were packed, my schedule color-coded, and my future mapped out with sharp lines. Dad had already promised to make calls, grease the wheels, set me up for success after graduation. Everything I'd worked for, every late night, every sacrifice was finally paying off. But all of it came crashing down with one lie, Emily's lie, and my family's decision to believe her without question. It was a rainy October evening, the kind of Seattle rain that didn't pour, just pressed down on everything like a weight. The sky was already dark by 5, and the streetlights cast blurry halos through the mist. I had just finished a brutal 2-hour soccer practice, my legs throbbing from wind sprints, cleats still caked in wet turf. My hair was damp, half wrapped in a towel from the locker room shower, and I felt that satisfying ache of exhaustion that comes from pushing yourself to the edge. As I walked toward my Jeep, the white one my parents had surprised me with on my 21st birthday, I was already thinking about dinner, maybe curling up in bed with class notes. Then I saw my phone. 52 missed calls. 80 unread texts. For a moment, I thought someone had died. My chest tightened. The names were all familiar: Mom, Dad, Claire from high school, even second cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. And the words, they bled through the notifications like poison. Disgusting. How could you? You're done. I stood there, frozen, trying to make sense of the digital avalanche. My fingers moved on instinct. I hit call Dad. The line clicked before the first ring ended. His voice was cold. Flat. Not angry, worse than that. Controlled. Get home. Now. Don't stop anywhere. And then the line went dead. No explanation. No space for questions. The 30-minute drive home was surreal. Rain pounded the windshield like a metronome, steady and relentless. NPR murmured in the background, but I couldn't process a word. My mind was static. Every possibility ran through my head. Had someone framed me? Had there been some terrible accident? Was Emily hurt? Had I forgotten something, missed something? I turned into our neighborhood and immediately noticed the extra cars parked outside. Uncle Jack's rusted landscaping truck. Aunt Linda's silver sedan. My grandparents' Buick. Even Mrs. Carter's ridiculous red hatchback. She lived 3 doors down and never missed a scrap of family gossip. My stomach churned. Before I could even put the Jeep in park, Jack was coming at me, storming from the porch like a man on a mission. He yanked the door open with so much force I nearly fell out. His breath hit me before his words did, boozy, bitter, stale. "You're a monster," he spat, grabbing me by the collar and slamming me against the side of the Jeep. Everything blurred. I could have shoved him off, I'd taken harder hits in games, but I was too stunned. Frozen. Dad appeared behind him, expression unreadable. Mark, my older cousin, grabbed Jack by the shoulders and dragged him back, shouting something I couldn't hear. No one looked at me. Not really. "Inside," Dad said. His voice was a command. His eyes never met mine. The living room looked like a courtroom. People everywhere, clustered in corners, perched on the armrests, whispering. Mom sat on the couch, her perfect hair frizzed from crying, mascara painting black streaks down her cheeks. Her eyes, usually so rehearsed, so careful, were raw. Emily was curled into Grandma's arms on the recliner, her face buried, shoulders shaking with sobs. She looked small, breakable. She didn't even glance at me. I stood in the doorway like a stranger, like someone walking into the wrong house. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice cracking despite my best effort to stay steady. Mom looked up at me then, and I'll never forget that expression. It wasn't anger, it was something deeper. Disgust. Betrayal. Her voice was low but sharp. "How could you do that to your own sister?" The room fell silent. No one moved. My blood turned to ice. "Do what?" I whispered. But in my gut, I already knew. Dad stepped forward, but the man I'd grown up watching deliver calm, logical arguments in courtrooms was nowhere to be found. His face was twisted, rage barely contained. His voice shook, not from doubt, but from fury. "Emily told us everything," he said, each word clipped, deliberate. "How you've been sneaking into her room at night. 4 years." The world collapsed beneath me. I felt like the air had been sucked from the room, like I was falling without end. The words didn't register at first, and when they did, they hit like a tidal wave. "What?" I gasped. "That's insane." My voice cracked, but I stood my ground. "I've never touched her." Emily wailed louder, her voice rising above mine like a siren. "You said no one would believe me," she cried, her sobs trembling with theatrical precision. "You said you'd hurt me if I told." I stared at her, my little sister, my Emily, whose scraped knees I had bandaged, whose bullies I had confronted, now looking at me like I was a monster. Her eyes were wide, trembling, but underneath I saw something cold, calculated. "I never said that," I choked. "I've never done anything to you." But no one was listening. It was like shouting into a void. The air around me buzzed with anger and disbelief, but none of it was directed at her. Uncle Jack lunged again, rage blazing in his bloodshot eyes. "I'll have you arrested," he barked. "My buddy on the force will lock you up tonight." Dad and Mark held him back, their arms straining. No one told him to calm down. No one defended me. Emily didn't stop. She kept going, tears flowing as she claimed it had all started when she was 9. She said it happened during a summer I was supposedly home from college, her words spilling like oil, smooth and toxic. But I wasn't even in Seattle that summer. I was in California, attending a competitive soccer camp for 6 weeks. I had the photos, the schedule, even social media posts with my teammates. But it didn't matter. No one asked. No one wanted proof. They'd already chosen their side. Mom held Emily like she was broken porcelain. Her face was red and wet, her voice trembling as she whispered comforting nonsense into Emily's hair. Dad stood still, stone-faced, like a judge delivering a sentence. And then something inside him broke. He grabbed my arm and yanked me down to the floor. I barely had time to cry out before his palm met my cheek with terrifying force. My head whipped to the side. I tasted blood. "You're no daughter of ours," he growled. I clutched my jaw, stunned. Mom didn't even look up. She'd already packed my clothes, stuffed into garbage bags that sat like trash in the hallway. Dad ripped my wallet from my purse, pulling out every credit card, every piece of identification tied to his name. Insurance. Bank. Everything. "Please," I begged, blood dripping down my chin. "Dad, you know me. I'd never." He shoved me toward the door. I stumbled on the porch steps, pain shooting through my ankle as it twisted beneath me. My bags tumbled into the mud, along with my soccer gear. He looked down at me one last time. "Come near us again and you're done." And then he slammed the door. I sat there in the pouring rain, numb. Blood from my split lip mixed with the muddy water collecting around the porch steps. My jeans were soaked, my ankle throbbing, but I didn't move. Curtains twitched along the street, neighbors watching the scandal unfold like a reality show. No one came out. No one asked if I was okay. They just watched. I wasn't Jennie Harper anymore. I was something else. Something shameful. My world had unraveled in under an hour. A single lie, so absurd, so vile, and everything I had built was wiped out. That night, I didn't know where to go. I drove aimlessly until my gas tank hit near empty and parked in the lot of a 24-hour grocery store. I sat in the driver's seat, wrapped in my damp hoodie, staring at the dashboard. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't cry. I kept hearing Emily's voice in my head, seeing her face twisted in fake terror. I kept asking myself the same question: why? Why would she do this? By morning, my lip had ballooned, my ankle was twice its normal size, and my phone remained silent except for one text. From Dad. Contact us again and I'll get a restraining order. You're dead to us. That broke me more than the slap. More than the accusations. You're dead to us. The man who taught me to ride a bike, who helped me rehearse speeches, who once told me I was the pride of his life, now he couldn't even bear to say my name. I had no plan. Just shame, pain, and a Jeep filled with garbage bags that held my life. My teammate Sarah let me crash on her couch for a few days. She didn't ask many questions, maybe she was scared of the answers, but her roommates weren't exactly welcoming. They whispered when I walked past, never made eye contact, left passive-aggressive notes about dishes I hadn't even used. I felt like a stray dog, tolerated, not wanted. I tried calling everyone I could think of, my grandparents, my favorite aunt, even Claire, my old best friend. No one picked up. Not even a polite text. I was radioactive. Untouchable. 2 weeks later, the university emailed me. My tuition payment was overdue. My parents had pulled their financial support without warning. I panicked. I applied for a loan, but without a parent co-signer, it was denied. My options were few. I dropped a part-time enrollment and picked up night shifts at a local coffee shop just to scrape together what I could. Soccer, the one thing that had always grounded me, started slipping too. I missed practices because of work. I couldn't keep up with team workouts. I lost my starting position. I could feel my teammates pulling away, awkward silences in the locker room, glances exchanged when I walked in. The lie had spread. Someone in the family must have talked. And once it was out, it grew wings. Classmates looked through me like I wasn't there. Guys I'd gone to parties with, studied with, flirted with, gone. Girls moved their backpacks when I sat near them. Whispers followed me across campus, in the library, in lecture halls, in line at the cafeteria. I saw my name on someone's phone screen once, paired with the words, "Stay away." My GPA, once a shining 3.9, plummeted to a 2.3. I couldn't focus. I was exhausted all the time, hungry, barely sleeping. Then my Jeep died. Transmission failure. The mechanic quoted me $4,000. I didn't even have $40 to spare. I missed shifts at the coffee shop. They fired me. My roommates gave me a week to move out after I fell behind on rent. I didn't blame them. With nowhere else to go, I started sleeping in the soccer team's storage shed. It wasn't much, just practice mats, bags of cones, and a place to hide. I used the locker room to shower and stole expired protein bars from the gym supply closet. I was invisible. Or worse, known but hated. It was January when Coach Lisa found me. I was curled on a pile of mats, wrapped in a sleeping bag donated by the athletic department, my breath fogging the air. I was shaking so badly I couldn't speak. She knelt beside me, her voice soft. "Jennie, what happened?" The words spilled out, halting, broken, soaked in disbelief. I told her everything. About Emily. About the accusations. About losing my family, my future, everything. She didn't recoil. She didn't ask if it was true. She just listened. That night, she gave me a key to her guest room and a job assisting with youth soccer camps on weekends. It wasn't much, not compared to what I'd lost. But it was warm and safe. It was a lifeline. That summer, I didn't go back to school. I took a job as a camp counselor in Oregon, leading teens through wilderness hikes. The physical work, hauling gear, building fires rebuilt my strength. I gained muscle, felt alive again. But at night, I drowned my pain in cheap vodka with other counselors, chasing numbness. One mistake cost me everything. I misjudged a trail map while hungover, and a kid twisted his ankle. Camp director fired me. "You're great when you're focused, Jennie, but you're a mess right now." I bounced around after that, living in a beat-up Toyota Corolla I bought for $900. I took any job I could: waitressing, construction site cleanup, even bouncer gigs at dive bars. I avoided women, kids, families. The fear of another accusation paralyzed me. Nightmares haunted me: prison cells, jeering inmates, Emily's fake tears. One night, working security at a club in Portland, I spotted a guy from my old team. He recognized me, whispered to his buddies, and soon they were shouting "Predator" across the bar. I ignored them, kept working. 3 a.m. as I walked to my car, they jumped me. 4 guys, drunk and angry, calling me names I won't repeat. I fought back, landed a few hits, but they overwhelmed me: cracked ribs, a busted nose, a concussion. A passerby called 911. I woke up in a hospital with a $22,000 bill, no insurance, and no way to pay. I hit rock bottom. One stormy night, I drove to a cliff overlooking the Pacific. The waves crashed below, dark and endless. I stood at the edge, rain soaking my hoodie, ready to end it. No one would miss me. My phone hadn't buzzed in years. Then a voice cut through the wind. "Rough night for a swim, isn't it?" I turned to see an older woman, maybe 60, in a raincoat, holding a thermos. Her name was Clara, a retired nurse who'd seen too many broken souls in her career. I don't know why, but I told her everything: Emily's lie, my family's betrayal, the years of surviving. She listened, her eyes kind but sharp. "You've carried this long enough, Jennie. Come with me. One night, hot tea, a warm bed. We'll figure out tomorrow." Clara's house was small, cozy, filled with books and faded photos. She gave me dry clothes, her daughter's, from a kid who'd moved abroad, and made me soup. I slept on her couch, the first real sleep in months. The next day, she offered me a job at her small nonprofit, helping at-risk youth with job training. She saw something in me, she said, a fighter who doesn't know she's still fighting. Clara became my mentor, my rock. She paid for a doctor to fix my ribs, made me see a therapist, a gruff woman who specialized in trauma. Slowly, I started to believe I wasn't broken beyond repair. A year later, Clara connected me with her nephew, Ethan, who ran a private investigation firm. He needed someone with grit and a knack for reading people. I was skeptical. Why trust me? "Because Clara says you're gold," he said. And I trust her. I moved into a tiny studio apartment, started night classes in criminal justice, and threw myself into work. Ethan taught me surveillance, background checks, how to blend in while noticing everything. He was tough but fair, and over time, he became like a brother. At one of Ethan's jobs, a security gig for an art gallery opening, I met Mia. She was 30, a curator with a sharp wit and warm brown eyes that seemed to see straight through me. Her curly hair was pulled into a messy bun, and she moved with a confidence that made the room pause. We clashed at first. She thought I was just muscle. I thought she was a pretentious art type. But during the event, we got talking about a painting, a chaotic swirl of blues and reds. "It's about loss," I said, surprising myself. She raised an eyebrow. "You see more than you let on." We talked until dawn about art, life, everything but my past. She gave me her number, saying her gallery needed better security. I knew it was an excuse, but I called. Mia and I grew close, but I kept my past locked away. Ethan pushed me to tell her. "She's falling for you, Jennie. You owe her the truth." One night, over tacos at my apartment, I spilled it all. I braced for her to leave, to doubt me. Instead, she took my hand. "I believe you. You're not what they said you are." I cried, the kind of ugly sobs you can't hold back. She stayed. 2 years later, I proposed to Mia under the stars at the same park where we had our first date. Ethan walked her down the aisle. We bought a small house in a quiet Seattle suburb, and I became a partner in Ethan's firm. We expanded to corporate clients, high-profile cases. Mia's art career soared, her pieces selling for thousands. We started talking about kids, building a future. The nightmares faded. I reconnected with old teammates who'd heard rumors of the truth. My old life felt like a distant memory, one I'd buried. Then, last April, my phone rang. A woman on the line wouldn't give her name, just said it was a family emergency. I thought it was Mia or Ethan. I picked up. "Jennie, it's Mom." Her voice hit like a punch. 7 years of silence, and now this. "What do you want?" I said cold. She was crying. Emily confessed. She lied about everything. "Please, we need to talk." I hung up, my hands shaking. I drove to Ethan's, told him everything. He asked, "What do you want to do?" I didn't know. Mia said I needed closure, but it had to be on my terms. 2 weeks later, I agreed to meet them at a crowded coffee shop in downtown Seattle. Ethan and Mia came with me. I chose a corner table, my back to the wall, a habit from my PI work. Mom looked worn, her hair gray, her designer clothes gone. Dad was a shadow of himself, thin and tired in a cheap jacket. Emily, now 22, looked small, her eyes hollow. No one spoke at first. Then Dad started, "Jennie, I cut him off. "You don't get to call me that." "Talk." Emily admitted she'd lied. She was jealous I was the perfect daughter, the athlete, the star. She wanted Mom and Dad's attention, thought a lie would just get me grounded. But it snowballed. They believed her, showered her with love, and she couldn't stop. I showed them photos on my phone, my bruised face from the bar fight, my gaunt frame when I was homeless, hospital bills from the beating. "I was your daughter," I said, my voice breaking. "You threw me out without proof. I slept in a shed, nearly died on a cliff because you chose her." Mom sobbed, begging for forgiveness. Dad said they wanted me back, to be a family. Emily said they were broke, Dad's firm collapsed, they'd lost their house, sold Emily's car. She dropped out of college, working retail. They needed my help, my money. I laughed, bitter. "You destroyed my life, and now you want me to save yours? You're not my family." I looked at Mia and Ethan. "They are." As we left, Mom grabbed my arm. "Please, Jennie." I pulled away. "You made your choice. Live with it." Ethan hugged me in the parking lot. "You did good, kid." That was a year ago. I heard through a cousin that my parents are renting a tiny apartment, Dad's working at a hardware store, Mom's cleaning offices. Emily moved to Idaho, scraping by. I don't feel guilty. They broke me and I rebuilt myself. Mia and I are expecting our first child, a girl. Ethan's firm is thriving. I'm still in therapy, working through the scars. Forgiveness might come someday for my sake, not theirs. But not yet. For now, I'm focused on my family, the one that chose me. Hey there, it's Jennie Harper. My life's been a wild ride, and I've learned some hard truths along the way. Here are 5 lessons I've carved out from the chaos, straight from my heart to you in about 270 words. Resilience is my backbone. I hit rock bottom, homeless, betrayed, with nothing but a busted Jeep and a broken heart. But I learned I could claw my way back. From sleeping in a shed to running a PI firm, I found that no matter how hard life hits, I've got the strength to stand up again. Family is who stays. My parents and sister turned their backs on me, but Mia and Ethan became my real family. They showed me that family isn't just blood, it's the people who hold you up when everyone else walks away. My truth keeps me whole. Emily's lie painted me as a monster, and no one believed me. But I learned to trust my own truth. Even when the world screamed I was guilty, I knew who I was, and that kept me grounded. Letting go isn't weakness. I used to think forgiving meant letting them off easy. Now I know it's about freeing myself. Walking away from my family wasn't revenge, it was choosing my peace over their chaos. I can build from nothing. I lost my home, my dreams, everything. But I rebuilt a career, a home with Mia, a baby on the way. I learned that even when life burns down, I can create something new from the ashes. Thanks for listening to my story. Like, share, and subscribe for more real talk. Where are you watching from? drop it in the comments. Hit subscribe and join me for more lessons that hit hard.